New tonight on Our News live at 7. The role the Prime Minister says bad actors played in the collapse of FTX, as FTX liquidators are accepting claims from customers and creditors. And the country's foreign minister is firing back at criticism of the regulation and investigation into FTX. The daughter of Andrew Dudd Maynard remembers the legacy of her father, who passed away early this morning. And then in Our News at 7:30, new opportunities touch down at Great Harbor Key with the opening of a new airport. This is Our News live at 7. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm Megan Shepherd. Prime Minister Philip Davis again defending the country's reputation amid the fallout of crypto company FTX. Davis telling reporters today that the jurisdiction shouldn't be blamed because the company went into liquidation, noting that FTX wasn't the first.
What is sad is that FTX liquidation is not the only company, major, large company that went into liquidation in the Bahamas. We had Commodore, we had Bank Ambrosiana, we had National Bank and Trust, any number of them that had a lot of ricocheting effect.
The Prime Minister's comments come days after former CEO Sam Bankman-Fried was remanded to the Bahamas Department of Correction as he fights extradition. FTX filed for bankruptcy in November after going through a crisis. The Securities Commission of the Bahamas froze the company's assets, and the Supreme Court appointed a provisional liquidator. Davis says the fall of the crypto company has nothing to do with the country's regulatory regime.
It is not the lacking of regulatory regime. It is that you have bad actors, and bad actors all countries have. What about Enron in the United States? What about those major collapses? And look at what's happening in the tech industry. You start seeing some of these tech giants falling as well. Right, so it has nothing to do with our reputation or what we do. When you have bad actors, you have a regime to be able to identify them and get them out.
The Foreign Affairs Minister also defending the Bahamas' reputation. He is describing the situation as overblown rhetoric, simply calling the ordeal a business failure, one that the country can bounce back from.
The Bahamas has an enviable reputation around the world. There have been business failures here before. We've survived those. So my general attitude is one of a minimalist, which is to not see this as anything which is extraordinary, except for the fact, of course, the numbers are quite big. But even in the United States, you've had these kinds of massive business failures. And they've survived, and I suspect we will survive.
The joint provisional liquidators of FTX Digital Markets Limited are looking to identify and secure FTX assets to get the best possible value for stakeholders. Liquidators releasing a statement yesterday announcing that a case website was launched to help achieve that goal. They say the website will be used to communicate information to employees, customers, and potential creditors of FTX Digital. That website can be accessed at pwc.com/BS/FDM. FTX Digital was placed into provisional liquidation by the Supreme Court of the Bahamas on November 10th. The Supreme Court appointed Brian Sims Casey of Lennox Patton, Kevin Cambridge of PwC Bahamas, and Peter Graves of PwC Hong Kong as the joint provisional liquidators. Since their appointment, they've been reviewing the financial position of FTX Digital, as well as investigating the causes of the collapse of FTX globally and its impact on FTX Digital. Former Senator and PLP Chairman Andrew Dudd Maynard has died at the age of 82. The nationalist, former Senator and PLP Chairman is being remembered by his daughter and those who knew him as a giant of a man who never minced words. Brittany McDermott reports.
Throughout my childhood, my father was my hero. I am definitely a daddy's girl.
A nationalist, family man, and businessman are just some of the terms used to describe the late Andrew Dud Maynard. His daughter, Nina Maynard, says her father was always a straightforward individual who was very involved in politics. Dud, as he was affectionately known, is a name synonymous with the Progressive Liberal Party.
My father has been involved in politics all of his life.
She recalls being involved in every PLP convention and election campaign with her father. Now, Dud leaves behind a home littered with memories for his wife, children, and grandchildren to reminisce on. The daddy's girl says she was always protective of her father and recalls the last conversation she had with him.
I leaned over and I said, "Daddy, I love you so much, and I just made this really special soup and I put all of my love in it, so I need you to eat it." And he looked up at me and he smiled, and I kissed him and I told him, "Daddy, I love you," and he said, "I love you too."
In a statement, PLP Chairman Fred Mitchell said he was a tough man and spared no holdbacks in his words. The 82-year-old is the father of the late Charles Maynard, the uncle of former Attorney General Allison Maynard Gibson, and the brother of the late Clement Maynard. The death of the former senator and PLP chairman now leaves a hole in the hearts of his relatives. Reporting for Our News, I'm Berthany McDermott.
Thank you, Berthany. It's time now for your first look at temperatures. Forecaster Ian McKenzie is standing by in the Weather Center. Ian.
Thanks, Megan. Good evening, everyone, and thanks for joining us on this TGI Friday. Currently outside our studios, we're under cloudy skies with a temperature of 78. Our winds are out of the south-southwest at 7 miles per hour with a feels-like temperature of 80, courtesy of that stall frontal boundary just north of us. Current temperatures across the country at this time: in Freeport, we have a temperature of 69, 76 in Marsh Harbor, 72 in Allenstown, Bimini, 80 in Great Harbor Key, 80 in Governor's Harbor, 78 in the Capitol, and 76 in the Big Yard. 80 in Arthurstown, Kidd Island, 76 in Coburn Town, San Salvador, 80 in Deadman's Key, 79 in Georgetown, Exuma, and 79 also in Kemps Bay, Andres. In the southeast Bahamas, 79 in Duncantown, Ragged Island, 76 in Colonel Hill, 78 in Delectable Bay, Acklands, also 78 in Abrahams Bay, 79 in Matthewtown, and rounding up our temperature profile, our friends in Providenciales, Turks and Caicos, with a temperature of 81. Our satellite imagery at this time in radar, we have an active area of weather associated with a frontal boundary that's stalled just to the north of us across the extreme northwest Bahamas. So we can see some showers with embedded thunderstorms racing towards Abaco, some dissipating before they reach, however. Residents in those areas, once you hear thunder roar, you go indoor. That's your first look at weather. Stay tuned, more is still to come.
Still to come on Our News. Ready, set, get wet. Our Jamila Mizik joins us live from Margaritaville Resort tonight. And if you didn't have a chance to make it to a Junkanoo practice this lap, don't worry. Our Berthany McDermott has you covered. Some of the highlights are straight ahead when Our News continues. Plus, why you may want to double check those new Christmas toys for potential hazards this holiday season. Christmas is only 9 days away, and there will be lots of gift giving, especially for the little ones. But have you ever wondered which toys are safe and which are not? Our Italia Hall has the answers.
Toys are very important for children, for recreation, for education and stimulation and so on. So it's nice to have nice, bright, colorful toys, toys that make sound.
That's Dr. Carlos Thomas, a pediatrician who says a big concern is the size of a toy. Usually families with older children have toys with small parts that are detachable. He says those can be a choking hazard for infants and younger children.
Because as you know, children experience the world around them by putting things in their mouths.
And he says most manufacturers give age limits for toys.
So pay attention to what's written on the box. They may say for children 4 years and older or 5 years and older. That's very important.
The doctor says parents, guardians, or any caretaker should always supervise eating time as well as playtime.
Bigger children playing a bit rough with smaller children. And that's very important. We see lots of ingestions at this time, so children ingesting things that are not food. So it's very, very important that we're mindful that we keep things like medication locked away.
And what should you do in the event that your child does begin to choke?
Basic CPR can make the difference between life and death.
And as we continue to highlight all of the many experiences offered at the Margaritaville Resort this week, our Jamila Mizik had some fun in the sun today. Let's take a look.
And if you've been a part of water park experiences, you would like to know that it's personalized, that lifeguard, that pool and beach attendant, that ticket towel attendant or ticket office agent knows you by name. And they're coming to serve you, and you build relationships. And again, I think the whole process being conveniently available and also more personalized is what we hang our hat on.
And the good thing about the Bahamas, the weather is usually mostly sunny, which means it's always a good time to go to the water park. Adderley says the park is open from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m., and during the summer months, those hours are extended to 7 p.m. He shares some of what they have to offer.
There's a lazy river we have. In our lazy river, it's a real relaxed ride where we have our jumbo screen. And our jumbo screen has been our latest feature. We have our slides where we have enclosed flumes as well. Our enclosed flumes offer you very exciting rides. And we have our jump hole. It's a 10 feet drop into an 11 feet pool.
And believe it or not, the water park offers more than just water rides. Adderley says the offerings are perfect for children as well as the child at heart.
We have a basketball operation. We got a shoot-around drills. We have shoot-around competition for prizes. And then we have our most exciting beach here where you get to relax, have fun in the sun, enjoy the activities we have on our beach, from cornhole games to kayaks, paddle boards, you name it.
And now we are joined live by our Jamila Mizik, who is at the Margaritaville. Jamila, I see you caught the fun in the sun before the rain started.
Yes, Megan. As you know, all week we've been here at Margaritaville Resort enjoying some of their many experiences. Marlena went to the spa on Monday, BJ, Berthany, he was wining and dining. And then I got to do something fun today as well when I went to the water park. And as you see, we just spoke to Director of Recreation, Manny Adderley, and he says it is a unique, personalized water park experience. Now, while I didn't get a chance to take a dive, it was very relaxing. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab up all of you guys. We're going to come back here on a Saturday or so, and then we'll experience it for ourselves. But for now, reporting live from Margaritaville Resort, I'm Jamila Mizik, sending it back to you.
Thanks, Jamila. I look forward to that day relaxing. And thank you to Margaritaville for hosting the entire team this week and keeping us updated on all the amazing experiences happening at the resort. When our news comes back from the break, we turn our spotlight to stories making headlines across the world as the fastest man in the world is set to get a Lifetime Achievement Award. And later, there's nothing like a Junkanoo practice to get you in the mood for Bay. Our Berthany McDermott takes us to some of the practices on New Providence when our news returns. This is Our News. Welcome back. We turn our attention now to stories making headlines across the world. We begin in Germany tonight, where 2 people were injured and hospitalized after an aquarium at a luxury hotel in Berlin exploded Friday. Around 100 emergency responders rushed to the inner city leisure complex, which housed around 1,500 exotic fish. The Aquadome Aquarium was an eye-catching feature in a luxury complex that houses a Radisson hotel, a museum, shops, and restaurants. It was also the world's largest freestanding cylindrical aquarium at 46 feet high. Emergency services shut down a major road due to the large volume of water coming out of the building. 10 people, including 5 children between 3 and 15, were killed in a fire on Friday that engulfed a residential building in an impoverished town near the southeastern French city of Lyon. Another 4 people were seriously injured in the blaze in Vauxhall, which started around 3 a.m. The fire spread from the ground floor up through the 7-story building. The prosecutor's office opened an investigation to determine how the fire broke out, saying it could not rule out anything, including arson. Witnesses say a woman had tossed her child down to safety to a crowd gathered outside. Unfortunately, she eventually fell to her death.
At around 3:30 a.m., I heard shouting, so I ran out of my home to hear. I saw the building number 12 at my left burning on the ground floor. Then I saw 2 people. Then I saw people who were trying to evacuate. One person jumped out of the window. Unfortunately, they tried to save themselves but were unsuccessful. The firefighters, as soon as they arrived, administered cardiac massage, but it was too late. Then, several people were evacuated. One man stayed at the window for several minutes because there was smoke inside of his home, and he could not get out, and the firefighters took time to get to him.
More than a dozen people, including children, have been killed after a landslide at a holiday campsite in Malaysia's Selangor state. Survivors describe how the landslide wiped out their shelters and killed at least 21 people asleep at the time in an unlicensed campsite. The early morning landslide happened when mud and earth tore down a 100-foot hillside into an organic farm that officials said was operating the campsite illegally. Among the victims were 5 children and 12 women. Landslides are common in Malaysia, but typically only after heavy rains. 4 people were critically injured in a crush at a gig at the Brixton O2 Academy. 2 more people were treated for minor injuries at the scene. Police were called on Thursday night to the show at the South London venue by Afro-pop singer Ashake, which was abandoned partway through. Witnesses reported seeing ticketless fans trying to force their way inside. The British Met Police said more than 4,000 people were in attendance. Police Commander Colin Wingrove spoke to the press outside Brixton Police Station.
An urgent investigation is currently underway, led by detectives from Specialist Crime Command, and cordons remain in place, as you can see, and officers continue to work at the scene and at the location. I'm sure you can appreciate this is still a fast-moving and evolving picture, and we're working to establish the events that led up to last night's incident.
Retired Jamaican sprinting legend Usain Bolt will be honored with the Lifetime Achievement Award at BBC Sports Personality of the Year on December 21st. The world 100-meter and 200-meter record holder retired after the 2017 World Championships in London, where he ended his lightning-fast career with bronze in the men's 100-meter. The 36-year-old was crowned Olympic 100-meter and 200-meter champion at 3 successive Games: Beijing 2008, London 2012, and Rio 2016. He is the only athlete to win both the 100-meter and 200-meter at 3 consecutive Olympics. 2 years after he retired in 2019, Bolt told a crowd attending a tech forum in Mexico City that he hoped to hold on to his world records for a very long time.
For me, records are made to be broken. For me, that I know that there will come a time that somebody will want it as much as I do. who will have the talent, who will want to drive themselves, who will want to push themselves. So I know it's just a matter of time. This is why I set the bar so high. You know what I mean? So if you want to be great, this is what you have to do to be great. So for me, as I said, hopefully it's 20, 25 years, I can show my kids, listen, your dad was the fastest man in the world, and he's still the fastest man in the world.
Still to come in our news, today in history. Find out interesting facts about the day that was December 16th, including how the Bahamas Red Cross became internationally recognized. Plus, Ian is back with your extended weather forecast. And then in our news at 7:30, where can you go to find your favorite Bahamian Christmas gifts? Our Sasha Lightborn has the answer when our news continues. Welcome back to Our News. It's now time to turn our spotlight on events that shaped the day that was December 16th. On this day in Bahamian history in 1898, Roland Theodore Simonet was born in current Eleuthera. Simonet was a bootlegger, businessman, and politician who served as the colony's chief minister and first premier. During the Prohibition era, Simonet became a rum runner, amassing a small fortune, which enabled him to buy large portions of land on New Providence, and was one of the largest landowners in the country. His 52 years as a parliamentarian still stands as a record in the Bahamas. His image was posthumously placed on the $50 banknote, and a community park just feet from his birthplace was named after him in 2009. In 1933, the first telephone service to the United States from the Bahamas was introduced by the Telephone Department, which later became Batelco, now BTC. In 1976, the Bahamas Red Cross Society was formally recognized by the International Committee of the Red Cross as its 123rd member. The Society's main offices are located on John F. Kennedy Drive in Nassau. Then, in 2004, Leroy Cleveland McKenzie, known by his stage name Smokey 007, died in Nassau. He was 59. The Bahamian singer, songwriter, and musician, popular during the 1970s and 1980s, sang as a solo artist and with his group, The Exciters, in the genres of reggae, calypso, soul, funk, and pop music. Some of his best-known hits were Tell Laura I Love Her, Nobody's Child, and Never Ending Love. In 2015, he was posthumously honored during independence celebrations as one of 42 cultural legends. From musical arrangements to the formation of authentic and fresh choreographs, it's all put on display here at Junkanoo Practices. Berthany McDermott visited the practices of all of the A groups to see what happens and to get a sneak peek of what the preparation for Bay is like.
The rhythmic sounds of the goatskin drums coupled with the sounds of the brass section and other instruments that bring the sound synonymous with Junkanoo music all start here. Whether it's the Valley Boys or Saxon Superstars on a Sunday, the Genesis Warhawks on a Tuesday, Roots on a Wednesday, or One Family Junkanoo on a Thursday. The melodies of Junkanoo music could be heard ringing out as Junkanooers perfect the rhythmic performances we see on Bay on Boxing Day and New Year's Day. Reporting for Our News, I'm Berthany McDermott.
Thanks, Berthany. And to watch that story again and for all of today's top stories, visit ournews.bs. That does it for News at 7. Joining us now is our Italia Hall with the latest headlines. Italia, I must say, I was looking forward to seeing Berthany do a little 1-2 in that story.
I was looking forward to that as well. As Junkanoo is approaching, are you ready?
I am very ready to experience Junkanoo here in Nassau.
All right, sounds great. Well, thanks, Megan. FTX was not the Prime Minister's primary focus today, as he also attended the opening of the Great Harbor Key International Airport. Our coverage continues right now with the latest. First tonight on Our News Live at 7:30, a grand opening and welcome as the Great Harbor Key Airport opens. And Windstar's Star Legend cruise ship cruises into Grand Bahama. What tourism officials hope the ship will do for the island's economy. Plus, the provisional liquidators are now accepting claims from customers and creditors of FTX digital markets. We'll tell you how you can submit. And later, 'tis the season to shop Bahamian. Our Sasha Lightborn gives us a sneak peek at the destination for shopping this weekend. Our News Live at 7:30 starts in a moment. Welcome to Our News and thank you for joining us. I'm Italia Hall. Major developments this week in the collapse of FTX, from the arrest of former CEO Sam Bankman-Fried to the denial of bail, and more recently to the granting of a bail hearing in January. Well, today, Prime Minister Philip Davis was answering media questions giving all that has happened. He started with the fact that this is not the first time a large company has gone defunct here. In fact, he says the collapse of FTX had nothing to do with our regulatory regime. To quote him, it was bad actors.
It is not the lacking of regulatory regime. It is that you have bad actors, and bad actors all countries have. What about Enron in the United States? What about those major collapses? And look at what's happening in the tech industry. You start seeing some of these same tech giants falling as well. Right, so it has nothing to do with our reputation or what we do. When you have bad actors, you have a regime to be able to identify them and get them out.
The Prime Minister made the FTX comments on the sidelines of the opening of the Great Harbor Key International Airport today. Also on hand for the opening ceremony in the Berry Islands was Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Tourism, Investments and Aviation Chester Cooper, who gave details on the new airport.
This is a significant occasion. This airport was started to be built in 2019 in earnest. Today, we're finished. It's a new construction, 9,500 square feet inside, 4,800 feet runway. It's a Tier 2 airport certified by ICAO.
The Prime Minister says today represents a major development in the push to revitalize the island and increase domestic and international travel.
They deserve to have a fair chance in the market to capture and be supported as being as competitive as their imaginations would allow. I'm certain that the opening of these renewed routes into the island will do just that.
While a cruise ship making an unexpected stop in Grand Bahama today, the Windstar Cruise Line Star Legend ship was initially slated to make its final stop in Miami, Florida, but decided that the ship would stop in Freeport. The captain of the ship says there are 200 crew members and 150 guests.
We started the crossing in Lisbon in Portugal. That was 14 days ago. We had rough weather, that's why we had to deviate to the south. So we extended our route more than 400 miles. However, this worked fine with us.
There was a plaque exchange. Deputy Port Director Charles Roll calling the day legendary.
This is a different kind of cruise. It's a unique boutique style cruise, which it's small, it's compact, but it's a personalized type cruise. So at Freeport Harbor, we've been pursuing all types of cruises, and this is just one of those style cruises, the larger ones and the smaller ones. We want to be able to attract all comers to Freeport Harbor.
Manager of niche marketing Nuvolari Chottersing says it's always good to have new cruise ships visit the island.
It gives us an opportunity to expose the island to new passengers, and in this case, with it being a very small cruise ship, capacity of 312, 152 passengers today, we'd like to have them take advantage of the opportunity to see some of Grand Bahama Island and perhaps arrange another stay on the island, take in what we have to offer, and just enjoy it.
All right, good news from Grand Bahama. Well, the joint provisional liquidators of FTX Digital Markets Limited are looking to identify and secure FTX assets in order to get the best possible value for stakeholders. Liquidators releasing a statement announcing that a case website was launched to help achieve that goal. They say the website will be used to communicate information to employees, customers, and potential creditors of FTX Digital. That website can be accessed at pwc.com/BS/FTM. FTX Digital was placed into provisional liquidation by the Supreme Court of the Bahamas on November 10th. The Supreme Court appointed Brian Sims Casey of Lennox Patton, Kevin Cambridge of PwC Bahamas, and Peter Greaves of PwC Hong Kong as the joint provisional liquidators. Since their appointment, they've been reviewing the financial positions of FTX Digital as well as investigating the causes of the collapse of FTX globally and its impact on FTX Digital. Well, the man accused of killing a woman and her daughter in Long Island was granted $9,900 bail after prosecutors missed multiple trial dates. Prosecutors say Nathan Harding of Salt Pond, Long Island, murdered his grandaunt Jane Harding and her daughter Melissa Way after kidnapping them and raping them. They were reported missing on February 25, 2020 after Way failed to report to work. Their disappearance became a murder investigation after search teams found the relatives buried under rocks on a beach in Salt Pond on February 28th. The case had been scheduled multiple times for trial, but the matter could not proceed because the prosecution did not have scientific reports. As a result of the delays, Harding's lawyer, Bjorn Ferguson, applied for bail. The prosecution did not oppose the application. Well, beautiful, pleasant conditions outside the Our News studio this evening. Forecaster Ian McKenzie joins us from the Weather Center with the latest. Ian?
Thanks, Natalia, and good evening, Bahamas. Welcome to your first look at weather for this evening. Currently outside our studios, we're under cloudy skies with a temperature of 78. Your winds are out of the south-southwest at 7 miles per hour with a feels-like temperature of 79. Satellite and radar imagery at this time, we have an active area of showers with embedded thunderstorms moving towards the Berry Islands and Abaco area. We're advising persons to continue to monitor the system, and once you hear thunder roar, please go indoor. Elsewhere, we have this system that will pretty much stall out, and we expect a secondary frontal boundary to push through the area on Sunday. Stay tuned. This is your first look at weather. The extended weather is straight ahead.
Still to come on Our News, how a new piece of legislation is designed to bring transparency and accountability to government funds and sub-funds. Plus, we'll tell you what's brewing with a $250,000 award for scholarships, textbooks, and laptop assistance at the University of the Bahamas. And later, the national flag carrier is flying high with an international award. The details when Our News returns. Senators debating the National Investment Fund bill Thursday afternoon. The bill seeks to strengthen the sovereign wealth fund legislation and to hold the government's non-financial assets in the fund for the benefit of a future generation. In a transparent function, the court's Attorney General Ryan Pinder says this bill will align with international best practices on transparency and accountability.
In order to ensure that any use of public lands is maximized for the Bahamian people, the approach should have a properly structured framework, should be transparent, where the interests of the sovereign and the Bahamian people are maximized with respect to the value of which it has. Those are underlying principles of anything you should do when it comes to public land. This is a specific approach proposed in the Real Estate Development Fund model.
The Senate, Darren Henfield, lending his support to the bill.
$200 million for a family island infrastructural fund is a wonderful thing. Most of our islands in this country now need seawalls, right? And seawalls to help protect them from the ferocious weather that we saw with Dorian and even with Nicole. And if this helps us to do that, you travel to the United States of America as most of us do, and there's always something going on, right, in the infrastructure. There's always work going on the roads. And God knows we can use some work on our roads now, right?
Commonwealth Brewery committing to higher education with the signing of a memorandum of understanding with the University of the Bahamas. The award of $250,000 will go towards scholarships, textbooks, and laptop assistance.
We are looking to put forward 16 scholarships for the students of the university, ensuring that they have their tuition covered, that they have their laptops, all the financial support that is required for them to strive and grow. And again, we have not stopped there. We are looking also to extend this also for our staff members. We want to make sure that they can pursue certification courses, that they continue their education and lifelong learning programs. And we have put therefore 6 scholarships in place to ensure that this is happening as well.
Now, the managing director says there are also 2 other key areas the funds will go towards, like athletics and research.
CBL has recognized the need to support also the athletes of the Bahamas. And also we're looking to build a sustainable and resilient Bahamas. And therefore we have put funds along the next 5 years, an annual fund, which will be supporting the athletes department and also the climate change adaptation and resilience research center.
The World Travel Awards shows Bahamas Air as the winner of the Caribbean's Best Airline Award for 2022. Minister of Tourism, Aviation and Investment, Chester Cooper, commenting on the accomplishment.
This week we were delighted to celebrate the awards for Bahamas Air as the best airline in the Caribbean. This is an exciting moment. Bahamas Air has an outstanding safety record. We have magnificent employees. We have had our share of challenges. But this is an opportunity for all Bahamians to celebrate. Bahamas Air has always been a source of great national pride for us.
When our news comes back from the break, where can you find the best Bahamian gifts all in one place? A young entrepreneur gives us a sneak peek at the destination this weekend. And later, will temperatures dip any lower? Your extended forecast is still to come on Our News Live at 7:30. This is Our News. Welcome back. The Lady Mingos looking to snap a losing skid on ladies volleyball. Meanwhile, another thrilling finish at the Bahamas Bowl as college football makes its return to the Bahamas. Here's Marcellus Hall with a check on sports.
All right, thanks, Natalia. Welcome to our sports, everybody. I'm Marcellus Hall. It was all about college athletics over the last few days, starting with our local university, as the University of the Bahamas ladies volleyball team, they went into action in the New Providence Volleyball Association looking to pick up a win. How did it turn out? Let's take a look. UB women's volleyball squad hoping to reverse a losing streak Wednesday night against the Lady Technicians in New Providence Volleyball Association action. Mingos starting off strong. They pulled off 4 aces, took the first set 25-13. Mingos staying on course. They held off a late surge from the Lady Techs in the second set, held on to win that one 25-21. Third set, Lady Technicians again trying a late run, but the Mingos defense putting up a strong front. Mingos get the set win 25-22. They take the match 3-0. Head coach Raymond Wilson says the team proving it can play with anyone in the league.
Girls are quite capable of playing this game. Once they stay consistent in with regards to service and receiving, we could match up with anybody. They did a good job on the service tonight, and they did a good job receiving tonight. Defense was also good. So once they continually play at that level and at that pace, using the skills that they're capable of, we should have better results.
Meanwhile, today was college football day, the start of the college bowl season. This afternoon over at the Thomas E. Robinson Stadium as the UAB Birmingham team taking on the Miami of Ohio football squad. Conference USA matchup. It starts off the bowl season, and what a good way to start things off. This one going right down to the wire before they decide a winner. Taking a quick look at how it all turned out. Again, very exciting matchup here. Not much of a crowd on hand, but nonetheless, they did indeed get it done. And at the end of the day, only one could be the victor, and that would be the squad from UAB. They get the win 24-20, ends up being your final score. And that's your check on sports on this Friday. Have a great weekend, everybody. I'm Marcellus Hall. Back to you, Italia.
Still ahead on Our News tonight, some Christmas gifts just need a Bahamian touch, while a local pop-up market will help you check those presents off your list. And a mix of sun and showers ahead this weekend. Your weekend weather planner is straight ahead. Stay with us. Welcome back to Our News. There's a busy shopping weekend ahead as last-minute arrangements are made before Christmas next week. Well, what kind of weather conditions will we have? Ian is back in the Weather Center with your extended outlook. Ian?
Thanks, Natalia. Welcome back, everyone. Here's a look at our extended forecast. Again, we have this cold front that stalled across the extreme northwest Bahamas. This system should fire up 1 or 2 pockets of unsettled weather during the course of the night into early morning. However, the bulk of the activity will be confined across the Abaco, Grand Bahama area, so persons in New Providence need not worry about any unsettled weather at this time. We expect a secondary boundary to push through the area on Sunday, merging with this frontal boundary, and this should bring us a nice cool down effect for the early part of next week. Taking a look at your boating forecast for the northwest Bahamas, small craft caution is still in effect due to those northeast to easterly swells. We'll have variable winds at less than 10 knots tonight. Your seas will be 1 to 3 feet, but up to 6 feet in those swells, and we expect a low tide at 7:49 p.m. this evening. For the central and southeast Bahamas, small craft caution remains in effect again due to those swells. Winds will be east to southeast at 10 knots or less, with your seas running 1 to 3, but up to 4 to 6 feet offshore in those swells. Here's a look at your national forecast, rather. And in your extended forecast, again, most of the activity will be confined across the extreme northwest Bahamas, namely Freeport, Grand Bahama, and Abaco area through Sunday. Sunday, greater chance for showers possible around the New Providence area. Early next week, we have gradual clearing, but expect a nice cold front to push through the area between Thursday and Friday, which should bring us a nice cool down into the Christmas weekend. Expect your highs to be in the low 80s, upper 70s, with your low temperatures in the upper 60s to low 70s. But just take a look at what's happening on the weekend. We're going to get that cool down, Natalia. Thanks for joining, everyone. It's been great. Have a beautiful weekend.
All right, Ian, I'm loving the temperatures. Thanks so much. Well, an all-Bahamian Christmas pop-up market is set for tomorrow at the historical Collins House grounds. More than 50 vendors will showcase all Bahamian-inspired, Bahamian-owned, Bahamian design, and Bahamian-made products. Our Sasha Lightborn got a sneak peek as to what's to come.
More than 50 vendors will be at the Eyes of Bahamian Bay Christmas pop-up market tomorrow, checking off the items so that you can cross them off your Christmas list. We got a sneak peek at the venue as well as a chance to speak to the market's organizer, Cache Knowles.
We have a wide variety of products to choose from: jewelry, accessories, handbags, beauty products, stuff for your pets, anything you could think of.
So why go through such lengths to put on such an event?
Because the small businesses deserve it. Like, they are not accessible like, regular stores are.
This is the market's second year, and Eyes of Bahamian Bay will have new items on display as well. We asked Knowles about the evolution of the brand, which began in 2019.
I grew up in retail from my grandparents and my mom, so it's very easy to get things printed on shirts. So I just sort of followed what the demand was, and it's sort of become my love.
And for those of you who may be concerned about an entrance fee, how to pay, and parking,
there is no fee. We want as many people to come in as possible. This is a cash event. Bring $100 bills. You can also use cards with different vendors. Parking is available at the front of Collins House. We also got the Ladies Medical Center has allowed us to use their parking space, and PHA corporate office on top of the hill.
Now the market will open at 10 a.m. and is scheduled to close at 8 p.m. There's also a Junction rush out scheduled for 6 p.m. Reporting for our news, I'm Sasha Lightborn.
All right, Sasha, great story. And thank you for joining us for our news tonight. On behalf of the entire team, I'm Natalia Hall. We'll see you tomorrow night. Have a great evening.